Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How you guys doing? This is Teo. We are back with episode 4 of the Morty Minimum Battles series. 16 challengers, plus a lot more to come into this episode. We are coming in with challengers including Persian, Golduck, Primeape, the entire Poliwag line including Politoed from Gen 2. We've got Kadabra and Alakazam, Aipom, Murkrow, Misdreavus, Girafarig, Dunsparce, Gligar, and Steelix. But on top of that, we've got some great member picks. We've got Sir Quack, the Psyduck coming in, and we've got the Abra that was running Zap Cannon last time. This is going to be incredibly interesting to see. On top of that, we have reached the point in the Pokedex where my personal Pokemon, Arcanine, would be showing up, and we know that that Pokemon is going to scout ahead for the next section. That means we're going to get our first chance to look at Chuck, Jasmine, and Pryce in this one, just to get a feel for what that's going to look like when we get through with all of these challengers. So place your predictions down below as usual. I think we're going to basically get through with everything here against Morty. Some of these Pokemon might need to go with some sort of broken strat like the Hidden Power Dark in order to get it done, but I think we're going to survive. Still, I'm going to be very interested to see how that next section is looking, because that's where I think we're really going to thin out the herd, and we can already see that a lot of Pokemon are starting to have to go for Game Corner TMs or Max Power Return, or of course Hidden Power Dark, just to have any shot of getting through this section, and there could be some serious walls upcoming. But let's kick this off with the Morty section, starting off with our normal types in this one. Let's look at Persian, Aipom, and Dunsparce and see how they do against this gym. We'll save Girafarig for when we get to the psychic types later on. So we come in first with our Persian that knows Headbutt, Growl, Bite, and Scratch in this section. This moveset might be enough. We might just have to get some flinches with the Bite in order to get through, but I certainly expect this section to be fairly reasonable. And in fact, we get to learn the move Payday here. I'm just going to learn it over Scratch because basically they're the same power, but you know, it's kind of hilarious just to make extra money as we go through the game. And of course, Persian is a very fast Pokemon, so it has a pretty big advantage as it comes in here that it's already going to outspeed everything in this section basically. So we just have to try to get flinches, and I think we get through Rival 3, but let's see how it actually works out. So first off, against the Haunter, I'm going to go Bite, and this did about half. So with a crit or with a flinch, we get through with no curse there. We get cursed in this one, however. Magnemite comes out next. I'm just going to go Headbutt since it is my strongest move. Does a little less than half. It's going to be a 3-hit KO on this Pokemon, and yet again, we just don't get any flinches. That of course is pretty bad luck, because with one flinch on each of those Pokemon, we would pretty easily get through this, but honestly, I think we just need the flinch on the first Haunter to get this one to go. So let's try this again. This time we get Spite instead, which I think is perfectly fine, because yet again, we could have gotten a crit or flinched there in order to get through. So we're on to Magnemite without the curse this time. It's still going to be a 3-hit KO, but he misses Supersonic, then he hits Sonic Boom. That's perfectly fine with me. We simply knock that Pokemon out. Zubat is out next. We are going to get a 2-hit KO with Headbutt, and finally Bayleaf is out. We're just going to stick with the Headbutt strats. It goes for Reflect, but I still think that Headbutt is our best play, and we're hoping for not a critical hit Razor Leaf. We managed to get through, so just a couple attempts to get through the Rival there with our Persian, and without any flinches. Honestly, if we had just gotten more flinches, that would have been an easy fight. Considering that Headbutt has a decent chance to flinch, I mean, we would expect to get some free turns in that battle. But with that done, we can make our way straight to Morty. I don't think there's any need to go to the lighthouse in this one, so let's just see if we can take him down. And sure enough, we get to Morty with no difficulties. So I think this is going to come down to flinches on his Pokemon. We probably want a Mint Berry just to be safe here, but outside of that, I think we can get the win. Let's just find out. So first attempt here against Morty, I'm just going to Bite the Ghastly and get the 1-hit KO there. Haunter's out next. We outspeed, of course. We do not get the flinch, and it goes for Curse. So we're gonna deal with the Curse damage in this one. Here we get a critical hit Bite on the Gengar, however, and it lands Hypnosis, but we've got the Mint Berry, so we quickly recover and knock that Pokemon out. And the final Haunter comes out, where we simply Bite it, and this is gonna be a 2-hit KO. It can do nothing other than Mimic here, so we simply knock it out in 2 hits. And just like that, we beat Morty on the first attempt with Persian. So it turns out that Giovanni would have been good enough to beat Morty. HP, and even with Curse on, just one critical hit basically does the job. So that brings us to Aipom, which is running Swift, Tail Whip, Bud Slap, and Fury Cutter here. But honestly, we may need some elemental punches in order to get through this section because we don't have a dark type move. But for starters, I will simply go ahead and take on the Kimono Girls with my moveset as it is, and we'll worry about that when we actually get to the rival. So I'm going to try the rival once with this moveset as is, but if we struggle at all, honestly, I'm just going to throw on, I think, Ice Punch in order to try to get through this one. So first up, against the rival's Haunter, we need to go Mud Slap or Fury Cutter. I simply think Mud Slap's going to do more damage here. We do get cursed, but we managed to knock it out with 2 Mud Slaps. Out comes the Magnemite, where we will stick with the same. It's going to be 2 Mud Slaps to knock this Pokemon out. We do get hit by Sonic Boom, but we managed to knock that one out. Now on the Zubat, we can simply go for Swift. It's going to be a 2-hit KO with this move though. And now we've made it to the Bayleaf, but we don't have much HP. And of course, we simply go down to Curse, no matter what we did there. Now we're not in a situation where we have great special, so I'm not sure if the elemental punches will actually do that much more damage. So I'm actually going to take this opportunity to go to the Lighthouse just to gain an extra level or 2 and see if it makes any difference, and then we'll think about changing our moveset. So back again at a slightly higher level, now level 24. Let's just see if that makes any difference in this fight for us. Of course, we still Mud Slap on the Haunter, we still get cursed and knock it out in 2. Out next, we've got the Magnemite. Maybe if we can avoid damage from Sonic Boom, this time we get Supersonic instead, but we knock it out, so better health going to the Zubat. Now we hit ourselves in Confusion though, and we get Bite, so we're basically losing this one. We got a nice critical hit there. Let's just see what Swift does to the Bayleaf. This is a 3-hit KO on this Pokemon, so clearly Swift is not enough to get us through. Now we can upgrade our normal type move. We have Headbutt, but we've also got Strength, which Strength is an 80 base power move that is same type, so in theory, it's a massive improvement on Swift. I'm actually going to learn this move just to see if it helps us get a better range there on the Zubat and the Bayleaf. So of course the Haunter and Magnemite will be completely unchanged. We actually get Spite here from the Haunter and then it goes Curse. Doesn't really make any difference. We once again are going to get the 2-hit KO on the Magnemite as we get confused, but we do knock that Pokemon out. Zubat's out next. Let's see what Strength does here. Unfortunately, we just hit ourselves in Confusion, so we don't even get a C. So back to the Zubat, we go Strength, and we do get a 1-hit KO there. Bayleaf is out next. Strength does over half, but then it goes for Reflect, which is actually really terrible, but we get a critical hit, allowing us to knock this Pokemon out. Hey, it's 1 critical hit, so technically within my rules. Still, we managed to actually win with Strength on the moveset, and it all comes down to the fact that this Pokemon can then just deal more damage, since that's effectively, 1.5 times damage, plus the fact that we've got a badge boost in normal moves from Whitney. It's really not a bad spot to be in that fight. So now as we come into Morty, I have found in this gym so far that we haven't been doing enough damage to one-shot anything with Mud Slap. Obviously, it's only 20 base power, but still we're hoping that that might be enough in this fight. So first up, of course, we've got the Ghastly. We Mud Slap. That does a little more than half. So after Curse, this Pokemon does go down. Next, we have the Haunter, which we only did just about half with the Mud Slap. In fact, it's a 3-hit KO here. We will still manage to knock it out, but we're all the way down to half health as Gengar comes out. And this is going to be a 4-hit KO with Mud Slap, which means with Curse on, there's no way that we get through here. So we're instead going to go Ice Punch here and just see if that gives us a little bit better range on these Pokemon, given that while yes, it is a special move, it's at least significantly stronger than Mud Slap, and it might give us a better range on some of these. And if we can manage to get a freeze, that could also help us get through this fight. So we'll test it out here on the Ghastly. Let's go Ice Punch, and it still does less than half. It's a 2-hit KO. Let's see what range we get on the Haunter now, though. Again, it looks like about the same range. 3 hits to knock this Pokemon out. So we do manage to take Haunter down, but now Gengar, we're kind kind of hoping to freeze this Pokemon. We get put to sleep. We already used our Mint Berry on the Haunter, so we simply go down. So this time we freeze the first Ghastly. We can just Mud Slap it down from there. Haunter here likes to go for Hypnosis, so I'm gonna go for the Mud Slap. And we do in fact get the Hypnosis miss. We'll go for another Mud Slap. It misses another Hypnosis. I think we've gotten through with no curse this time. Now we can go Mud Slap on the Gengar. That does about a quarter, but let's see Ice Punch. It's about the same. It's down to half health here. I'm gonna stick with the Ice Punch just because we could get a freeze, but we don't need it. We simply get through that Pokemon. And the final Haunter, we could go either way, Ice Punch or Mud Slap. We just have to build up enough damage to knock this Pokemon out. We do manage to get through Morty, but that did not look great. It was in the end possible. Of course, Hidden Power Dark would have helped there, but fortunately we didn't have to go that far with our Aipom. We were able to get through just by adding on Ice Punch to use in conjunction with Mud Slap, but Mud Slap and Ice Punch are effectively about the same power there against Morty, given our fairly mediocre special attack stat. Still, Aipom does manage to get through, and with the Elemental Punches, I think it's got enough coverage to get through the next section, but we'll just have to see. For now, it's moving on in this challenge. And with that, we get to Dunsparce, which knows Rage, Defense Curl, Mud Slap, and Glare at this point. Now, we do have one significant advantage on that last Aipom, which is that this Pokemon can learn Dig. And I think Dig is going to be the key here if we struggle at all. Basically, Dig strats in order to get through Rival 3 and Morty. We are also fairly slow with this Pokemon, so we're going to have some troubles there perhaps, but I'm going to try to go with this moveset first, then we'll slap on Dig, then we will investigate anything else if it doesn't seem to be working. So as we come into the Rival 3 fight, of course, we are slower than the Haunter here. I think this might be one of those spots where Quick Claw is actually really useful. I'm going to go in without it this time, but if we change to the Dig strat, we might be resetting for a Quick Claw to activate against that Pokemon. But let's just check the range as we are right now. It goes Curse, we go Mud Slap, and this is going to take 2 Mud Slaps to knock that Pokemon out. We get to level 22 as Magnemite comes out. We are faster than this Pokemon, and we did over half with the Mud Slap, so it's 2 hits to knock that Pokemon out. Now, we don't have anything great here because we only have like Rage to use the rest of the way, and we're going to run out of HP, I think, before we can actually knock this Pokemon out. So clearly that did not work, but I think there's a solution. We're simply going to slap on Dig. And on top of that, I will give the Quick Claw here, and let's just see if we can get the activation that we need. Now, I think with Dig, it's far more significant that we get the Quick Claw just because of the fact that if we do get cursed, we're going to take curse damage while we're underground, which is not ideal. This time we do get the Quick Claw to activate, however, and we can hit Dig, which is not a 1-hit KO. It's a 2-hit KO still on the Haunter here. So this might be a spot where it's worth going to the Lighthouse just to see if gaining 2 more levels is enough to get us that range. This time we do manage to get to Bayleaf, but again, Curse is simply too much for us. Now, it is worth noting that a critical hit would one-shot the Haunter there, but the Quick Claw plus a critical hit is too much luck for me to just sit and reset for, so we're just going to have to find a better way through this. Rollout is out there as an available move as well, in case we need it, and we could also try upgrading our normal type move just to get better ranges on the Zubat and the Bayleaf. So coming back now, we are 2 levels higher at level 23, which is also a damage rounding threshold, so maybe with the Quick Claw we can finally get the KO on that Haunter. Let's just see. So this time we do get the Quick Claw to activate, but we still do not get the 1-hit KO range on Haunter. So of course that means we have to dig against the Magnemite. We do get a 1-hit KO there, but we had to take 1 turn of the curse damage, and now I don't think Rage is going to be strong enough to get us through the Zubat. Granted, Rage is only 20 base power, so while that is a 4-hit KO there, a stronger move would get us through more quickly. And this is another Pokemon that can learn Strength, which is exactly 4 times stronger than Rage. And given that we're not building up Rage at all before we get to the Zubat, this already is probably a pretty good strat to get through this section. So I'm going to forget Rage in order to learn Strength here. I think we want to keep Glare so that we can paralyze opponents, and Defense Curl might be paired up with Rollout later on. So for now, Rage is the move to go. So So let's come back and try this one again. We're still going for that Quick Claw activation on the first Haunter though. And the whole point is that because Haunter is basically a 2-hit KO for us, we at least want to not take any curse damage against that Pokemon. So here we do get the Dig turn 1, and then it curses to knock itself out. So we'll take our first curse damage here on the Magnemite, but we get the easy 1-hit KO. Zubat is out next. We go Strength and get the 1-hitter there. We got the Quick Claw to activate. Very nice. And now we are faster than Bayleaf, so let's just see Strength. This is going to be a 3-hitter. It goes Reflect though, which was kind of bad luck, and then a critical hit Razor Leaf knocks us out. So this time we get Spite from the Haunter, so we don't even get Cursed, and that might be all we actually need to get through this one. We knock out the Magnemite, out comes the Zubat where we can simply go Strength and get the 1-hit KO, and out comes Bayleaf where we're just going to do more of the same Strength, and this is going to be a 3-hitter after the Reflect, I think. Sure enough, we do manage to take that Pokemon down with plenty of HP to spare, so if we can ever get through without Cursed, including a critical hit of course on that first Pokemon, we can actually get through this on minimum battles. I think this is pretty close though, and honestly Rollout might be the actual play for getting through this, just because Rollout could build up enough to allow you to knock all these Pokemon out, but I really want to save that move on this Pokemon until a little bit later, since we're going to be able to do Defense Curl Rollout with it. I think that's going to be a really good strategy when we get to Lance. For now, however, we have gotten through Rival 3. It's time to take on the gym. Let's see if Dig can get us through this section. So we do level up and have the opportunity to learn Pursuit. I'm not going to learn this move though, because while our special attack isn't bad by any means, Pursuit is a fairly weak move, and I think Dig is going to be better off in this whole section. We may still need a Quick Claw activation on the Haunter, I think, in the next fight, but I think we're going to be able to find a way through this. But let's see if that was a mistake or not as we come into the Morty fight. So first up against his Ghastly, we're actually faster than this Pokemon, so we'll simply Dig and get the 1-hit KO. Haunter is out next. We are slower, but we get the Quick Claw activation on the first attempt. It misses Curse, and we one-shot that Pokemon. Out next is the Gengar. It puts us to sleep, which is not ideal, and now we're getting Dream Eatered, and this is probably the end of Dunsparce. Still, we can see that with one Quick Claw, we could get through to the Gengar. The issue with the Quick Claw is just that we can't put on a Mint Berry. I think it's a fair price to pay to try to avoid Curse here, which is why I'm going for it, but we need this Gengar to actually miss some Hypnosis. This time we woke up from Hypnosis, so we get a Dig and hit that Pokemon. It did over half to the Gengar, but then it gets us asleep again and goes for Dream Eater, but we wake up again and get a use Dig and knock the Gengar out. So even after one Dream Eater, we're able to knock out Gengar with just 2 hits from Dig. The final Haunter has nothing to use against this Pokemon, so we simply Dig and knock it out. It was going for Spite, which was actually a good strategy. If it had used Spite and managed to land it and use up all my PP and Dig, maybe I couldn't actually knock him out, but here we did manage to win this fight. So with that, we have gotten through Morty, and Dunsparce, while not perfectly consistent by any means, does get a move on in the game. So just like that, we add 3 more normal types to the pass column. Persian didn't look hard at all. Aipom and Dunsparce were a little bit questionable, but still managed to get through without anything too crazy. And honestly, so far, normal types really haven't been too bad here. Morty can't use ghost type moves to affect them, so they have actually a kind of advantage as they go in, as long as they have enough coverage. If we had a normal type that had no coverage moves though, that's where we could actually struggle in this section, but for now, all of them are in fact getting through. So let's move on now to our water types. We've got Golduck, and we've got the entire Poliwag line. So let's start with Golduck, Poliwrath, and Politoed to see how they do. Then we'll step down through the Poliwag line, and we'll also check our first member pick, which is Psyduck. And Golduck managed to get through the last section with Confusion, Tail Whip, Fury Cutter, and Dig. So we've already got a great moveset for this section. I think we've got more than enough for everything. I think we're probably going to forget Tail Whip in order to learn Surf, because honestly, with Surf on, I think we've got a round enough moveset that we can basically get through anything. Now, fortunately, Golduck is pretty fast in this section, so I think it's going to have a decent enough time getting through Rival 3. Let's just see if Dig can actually one-shot against that Haunter, though. So turn 1, we use Dig, and we do not get the one-hit KO. It's going to be a two-hitter there. Now, this could be a spot where maybe Surf is a little bit better. I'm honestly not sure, but hey, we at least get through, so let's see what the ranges are on the rest of these Pokemon. We can go Dig on the Magnemite and get the easy one-hit KO there. Bayleaf comes out next. Fury Cutters, they're technically our super effective move, though I think with Curse, we're not going to have enough time to set this up. And sure enough, we just get knocked out. So I'm going to go over to the Lighthouse to gain 2 more levels, because with how close that range was on the Haunter, that actually might make a difference here in terms of allowing us to knock that Pokemon out with a single Dig. But here in the Lighthouse, I actually lost to the first gentleman on the first attempt, so I'm just going to slap on Surf, because Confusion wasn't doing enough damage to this Noctowl. I think that Surf will do significantly better. And now, because we are using a same type move, we get an easy 3-hit KO on this Pokemon. There's a couple Growlithe's coming up next that should just be one-hitters, and we should be able to get through this section nice and easy. And while we could learn Screech, I'm simply going to skip this move, because I don't think that there's any move on my current moveset that I really want to forget. Again, tell me in the comments if you think not learning Screech is a mistake, but I think we've got enough moves to get through this next section. We've still got things like Ice Punch in the bag if we actually need some more coverage in certain spots. But now at level 23, we're ready to go back to the Rival and just see if that made any difference to our ranges with Dig. So first up against the Haunter, I'm going to go Dig here, and we still do not get a one-hit KO, but it goes Lick, so that's perfectly fine. We'll just go Confusion after that to knock it out. Magnemite's out next, we'll go Dig and get the one-hit KO. This time we're to the Bayleaf with no Curse on, so now I'm going to try Fury Cutter again. It goes for Reflect, then we get a critical hit with our Fury Cutter, and honestly, if it didn't get the critical hit with Razor Leaf, I think we would have knocked that Pokemon out. So let's just try this one again. I'm also going to test the range of Surf on this first Haunter here. So now with Surf, we do in fact get a one-hit KO, allowing us to get through with no Curse. We knock out the Magnemite, back to Bayleaf. Again, I'm going to go for Fury Cutter here. It gets a critical hit Razor Leaf turn 1 and then simply knocks me out turn 2. Now, will Confusion do significantly more damage? Confusion did 14 damage here, so that move would be a 5-hit KO. So I honestly think we get a better range by going for the Fury Cutter. And this time we do manage to knock out the Bayleaf. We are able to survive 2 Razor Leafs, provided that they are not critical hits. If Bayleaf crits, on the other hand, we simply go down after 2. So here we do manage to get through. We get to level 24 as the Zubat comes out. I'm simply going to go Surf. I think it's my strongest move, and we get the nice, easy one-hit KO. So sure enough, you just need to Surf on the Haunter, Dig on Magnemite, then go for the Fury Cutter setup on the Bayleaf and hope to not get a crit. If this were Gen 1, where crits were based on base speed, you basically have no chance of avoiding a crit from Razor Leaf, but Gen 2, they changed the mechanics around, so it's not a guaranteed crit in this generation, fortunately. So that is, I think, reasonable to hope for 2 non-crit Razor Leafs in a row, and then that's basically a cakewalk. Now it's time to get into Morty's gym, though. I think we're going to be spamming Surf and Dig here, but let's see if it's enough. So coming into Morty, we have 67 speed, so we're just fast enough that we will outspeed the Gengar here. So I think with the Mint Berry, we're basically good to go. So first up on the Ghastly, I'm simply going to go for Surf. I think this is our best play to just get a KO there. Haunter's out next. I'm going to go for the same, and we get the one-hit KO on that Pokemon. Now I think we can Dig or Surf here on the Gengar. Let's just see what Dig does. Of course, it can't hit Hypnosis while we're underground, and then we pop up, knock out half of its health. It doesn't manage to hit the Hypnosis, so it's down in 2 digs, and the final Haunter comes out. Let's just go Surf to make this one quick, and we get the easy victory. We get to level 27 with our Golduck. And honestly, this Pokemon could be fine. I think it's going to completely destroy Jasmine between Dig and Surf. We don't really have to fear too much in Chuck or Pryce's gyms. So honestly, Golduck could keep going for a hot minute here. We're just going to have to see how it does as it keeps going into the challenge. But for now, I think this Pokemon's set up for success. But with that done, let's now check in on our other fully evolved water types. We need to check in on Poliwrath and Politoed. I'm going to take the Politoed first since it is the pure water type, and let's see how it goes. So Politoed comes in with Water Gun, Hypnosis, Double Slap, and Perish Song. Obviously Perish Song is useless. We'll probably just forget that in order to learn Surf here. I think that's going to be our play to get through this section. And because Perish Song is just a completely useless move in this one, and we know that Surf is basically our best move in this entire section of the game, we're simply going to learn Surf right away. And that way we'll at least have 4 usable moves on the moveset. But with that, let's make our way into the Rival 3 fight, where yet again, we're already faster than the Haunter. Maybe the Surf is enough to simply get the one-hitter, but if not, we can go for Hypnosis strats here. So I don't think the Lighthouse is going to be necessary. So first attempt, let's just try Surf in this battle and see how much damage we do. We do in fact get the one-hit KO. We can go Surf on Magnemite since it doesn't resist the move, and that's another easy one-hitter. Bayleaf is where I think we have to go Hypnosis, and now we'll go into the Double Slap. Obviously Double Slap doesn't do a whole lot of damage, so we need a lot of hits from this move. We could upgrade it if we really need to, but I'm just going to go all in to knock it out when it's on low health. So we are poisoned going to the Zubat. I don't think it matters. Just go for Surf and get the easy one-hitter. So Politoed makes really quick work of the Rival, and there's only one spot where you're really looking for Hypnosis to hit, so that's really not a bad strategy to get through with this Pokemon. And now I think Surf is going to be enough in the gym, but let's just test it out and find out. So here we are just slightly slower than the Gengar. We've got 60 speed, whereas it has 64 speed. I'm not sure gaining one more level in the Lighthouse would make any difference there, so I'm simply going to go with this as we are. We may just need the Mint Berry to activate so that we can actually land Hypnosis on the Gengar, and hopefully it misses its Hypnosis on us. So Morty, attempt number 1 on the Ghastly. Let's just go Surf and get the easy KO. We're also faster than the Haunter. I think we'll get the one-hitter here as well. We sure as heck do. Now we've got the Gengar in front of us. It hits Hypnosis, but we recover with the Mint Berry. We're trying to put this Pokemon to sleep. We trade Hypnosises back and forth, but finally we land. And now let's see what Surf does. It does over half, so this is a 2-hit KO. We get the easy victory on that Pokemon as we get to level 28. And then Haunter, we simply use one Surf to knock it out. So that was no issue whatsoever to get through with our Politoed. So for Politoed, I think most of the analysis is the same as the Golduck. The issue is just that we don't have as much coverage with this Pokemon. Obviously, Earthquake doesn't come in until Victory Road, and we're not going to be able to learn Psychic until Kanto, so we're going to be sitting here just using basically water and normal type moves in this section. I guess we could get Dynamic Punch later on, which could be useful in some spots, and then Ice Punch for Claire, so maybe it works out. We'll just have to see. But for now, this Pokemon moves on. Let's see how Poliwrath as the water fighting type does. So of course, Poliwrath knows Submission, Hypnosis, Double Slap, and Water Gun. I think we're going for the same Surf strat here though. While this Pokemon is much more of a physical attacker and is a little bit slow, I think it's still going to be enough to get through. The one advantage, of course, is that Submission is a much stronger coverage move in this section, so it should help us against opponents like the Bayleaf. But here yet again, I'm simply going to learn the move Surf right away. I don't think there's any reason to put this move off since we've already seen how it did with the Politoed. I'm simply going to slap this on over Water Gun, and that way we'll have a slightly better moveset. But now, can we make our way through the Rival as easily as we did with the Politoed? Or is this one going to be a little bit more random? We'll just have to see. But I'm going to lead off, of course, with Surf on this first Haunter, and let's just see if it gets the one-hit KO. So we use Surf, and it does not get the one-hitter. due to our lower special attack stat, so we do get cursed here. Now against the Bayleaf, I'm going to go Submission, which does about half to this Pokemon. We get Razor Leafed back, but we can simply knock it out the next turn. Now we will go Surf on the Magnemite, and that does get the one-hit KO as we get to level 25, and Surf on the Zubat is a one-hitter as well. So we do manage to get through even with Curse on with this Pokemon. It's just not quite as good looking as what we had with the Politoed. Granted, Politoed needs to get Hypnosis on Bayleaf, whereas this Pokemon didn't. We just needed to land Submission. Since it is a same type move and neutrally effective, it is a reasonable strategy for getting through there. I think we're going to get slightly worse ranges here against Morty though, so let's just see if this is possible or not, or do we need to go get another level at the Lighthouse. So it's time for Morty round 1, where I'm simply going to go Surf on the first Ghastly, and sure enough we get the one-hit KO. Now on the Haunter I'm going to go for the same, and we still get the one-hitter there. Let's see how we do on Gengar. It misses the first Hypnosis. We did about half. So after it misses a second Hypnosis, we do knock that Pokemon out. The final Haunter comes out, we can simply go Surf. We still get the one-hitter with Poliwrath, allowing us to get through on the first attempt. So the fully evolved Polys really don't have any problem here to get through Morty, and I think this Pokemon is just going to be better than Politoed in the next section. I mean, it's got super effective moves against Jasmine and Pryce. It's going to be a mirror match against Chuck, but I think we're going to be able to find a way through that as well. So it's really just going to come down to whether or not its special attack being lower ever has an impact on this run, or do we get enough physical moves that it doesn't matter and we can basically rely on that attack stat? We'll just have to see. But that brings us to Poliwhirl, which was running Water Gun, Hypnosis, Double Slap, and Mud Slap in the last section. Again, I think Surf is the solution, so we're not going to dilly-dally around. Since we've already seen it with the evolved forms, we're just going to go for the same strategy. Now, the major advantage of Poliwhirl is that it is much faster than its evolved forms, meaning that we might actually be able to outspeed the Gengar here. We'll just have to see, but first things first, we've got to get that Surf HM. And now with Surf in the place of Water Gun, we're ready to take on the Rival, where I'm just going to see what the ranges look like. We've got lower special attack than we even had with the Poliwrath, so I think this is a spot to go for Hypnosis on the Haunter. We miss, of course, so now I'm just going to Surf to knock it out. Out next comes the Magnemite. I'll still stick with Surf. I think it's the better play, but it is not a one-hit KO here. Still, we get to knock it out in 2, so we can move on to the Bayleaf, where yet again we need to land Hypnosis and hope that we can land enough Double Slaps, but with Curse on, we're simply not getting through this one. Now, this could be a very reasonable spot to also upgrade our move set as far as our normal move. Since we could learn either Strength or Headbutt, I'm just going to go Headbutt here since I've already got it in the bag, and we're going to slap that on over Double Slap, since Double Slap would have to hit 5 times in order to be stronger than Headbutt, and then it's just only barely stronger anyway. Headbutt also can get flinches, which could be helpful here. But now I'm going to just try this fight again. We really need the Hypnosis on the first Pokemon. So this time we do manage to get Hypnosis on the Haunter. I'm going to go for Surf. We're just hoping it doesn't wake up. It does not. So we get to knock it out in 2. And this time we get through with no Curse. Now we know that the Magnemite is also not a one-hitter though. So that's why I'm trying to go Hypnosis here. We do manage to get it to sleep, and then we can even Mud Slap this Pokemon. We hit ourselves in Confusion twice though, and that is enough for us to go down on that attempt. So while I'm sure that this fight is possible at our current level, it's definitely not as consistent as the evolved forms, in spite of the fact that Poliwhirl is faster than both of its evolved forms. This time we do manage to get Magnemite to sleep though. I'm going to Mud Slap it since it's going to be a 2-hitter here anyway, and that way we can lower its accuracy if it does wake up. Out comes the Bayleaf. We're sticking with the Hypnosis as it goes Growl on me, but now that it's asleep, I'm just going to go into Headbutt. We get a nice critical hit turn 1. This looks like it would be a 4 or 5 hit KO normally. Still, when it wakes up on low health, we'll just knock it out the next turn, getting the level 25 as the Zubat comes out. I'm going for Surf, and we do get the one-hitter on that Pokemon, allowing us to win that fight finally. Definitely not super consistent. You're going to need to sleep 3 Pokemon there, or I mean, you could just go for 2 Mud Slaps on the Magnemite, but obviously the ideal is to sleep the Haunter, the Magnemite, and the Bayleaf, and that way you can basically basically get through. The Magnemite might be a one-hit KO if you go to the lighthouse and get one more level. I'm not certain on that, but the Haunter, I'm pretty sure you have to sleep it no matter what to avoid the curse. But now our Pokemon could learn Rain Dance, and obviously that would power up our water type moves. That could be really, really useful. So honestly, I think I'm going to learn this move, and I'm going to learn it over Mud Slap because I think Rain Dance Surf could be really overpowered in a lot of spots, especially since we have Hypnosis to put opponents to sleep and we're fairly fast. That strategy might actually work out. We might just need Surf, Hypnosis, Rain Dance, and one coverage move, and that might be enough to defeat basically everything. We'll have to see, but for now, I'm going to just try this strategy. Again, tell me if you think it's a mistake. But that, of course, brings us to Morty, where I'm just going to try this strategy out. We get cursed by the first Ghastly, so I'm just going to set up Rain Dance, and now let's see how much damage we do with our Surfs. The Haunter here is in fact a one-hit KO. We're faster than Gengar, so we can go for Surf with the Rain Dance up, and we get put to sleep and Dream Eatered, unfortunately, so we didn't get a win that attempt. Still, I think Surf is probably enough for the first Ghastly. It is. Let's see if Surf is enough for Haunter. It is not, so that's where the Rain Dance actually matters. So here I'm going to simply sleep the Gengar. Let's set up Rain Dance so that hopefully we can knock out the final Haunter with Surf. And here we still have a two-hitter on the Gengar, but we managed to knock it out. The final Haunter comes out. We're going to go for Surf, and we managed to knock that Pokemon out in a single hit. So Rain Dance could be really useful in situations like that, where we're not getting a one-hitter on a particular Pokemon, but with the Rain Dance, we managed to make Surf much, much stronger. So just like that, we have managed to get through this section with our Poliwhirl. Now it's time to check in on Poliwag. We already know that he's going to need better moves in order to get through this section, but maybe, just maybe, he will be enough. And Poliwag had Water, Hypnosis, Bubble, and Double Slap in the last section. Obviously, Bubble is an incredibly weak move, so we're going to want to forget that as soon as possible. So I'm just going to go pretty much the same strat as I did before, but we don't have Mud Slap on, so we'll go for Headbutt and Surf over our other moves. Now for Poliwag, Jolteon is actually a little bit hard because it does over half with a Thunder Shock, so 2 Thunder Shocks does knock out our Pokemon. Still, with Sleep, we can manage to get through that fight after a couple of attempts. And honestly, Poliwag's stats aren't that far off of Poliwhirl. We're again really fast. We're going to outspeed the Gengar on Morty's team. So I think we're going to basically be able to do the same strategy here against the rival, but maybe this is a good chance to test how we would do if we went to Olivine first. And here we do get to learn Rain Dance. I'm going to learn it over Double Slap, and maybe Rain Dance plus Surf is enough to really just steamroll our way through Rival 3. So now Rival 3 attempt number 1, I'm still going to try to put this Haunter to sleep. I'm going to set up Rain Dance and then go for the Surf, and sure enough, we one-shot that Pokemon. Magnemite is out next. I'm going to go Surf on this one and get the easy one-hitter as well. Bayleaf is out next. Here's where I'm going to go Hypnosis again and now go into Headbutt. And this appears to be a 4-hit KO on this Pokemon. So as long as it stays asleep, we get the easy victory right there. And finally, Zubat. Surf is the play, I think. It's not a one-hitter with a Poliwag without the Rain Dance on, but we do manage to get that to go still, and we have managed to beat the rival. So now we can move on to Morty's gym, where I think Surf is going to be enough, but the Rain Dance Surf might be necessary on the Gengar. So because we completed the Lighthouse, we're coming in one level higher here against Morty at level 28, and let's just see if this is enough to get through him with the Surf strats. So I'm still just going to try to one-shot the first Ghastly, which we do. Out comes the Haunter next though. This is where I'm going for the Hypnosis. We missed the Hypnosis, but now we'll go for Rain Dance into Surf, and that does knock that Pokemon out. Now on the Gengar, I'm just going to go all in on attack here. It's going to be a 2-hitter. It manages to hit Hypnosis, and I didn't put on the Mint Berry, so we lose the first attempt. So next attempt, we once again knock out the Ghastly. Let's go for our Hypnosis on Haunter. Again, we miss, but it goes Nightshade Shade this time and then Mimic. Finally, we managed to actually put this Pokemon to sleep, so now we'll Rain Dance and go into the Surf. And now with the Mint Berry on, I don't think we need to do anything against the Gengar other than just Surf, because even if Hypnosis hits, we're just going to wake up. We knock it out in 2, and we make it to the final Haunter, where we can simply go for the Surf and get the one-hit KO. Just like that, we do manage to get through Morty with Poliwag. This little Pokemon is going to keep going for a hot minute, I think. I think it's got everything that it needs to get through these next sections. It's going to learn Body Slam via level up, and then once we get to Belly Drum, Sleep, Body Slam, Surf, that could be a pretty interesting strategy with this Pokemon. I do want to know how a Poliwag manages to drum its belly though. Somebody enlighten me. Anyway, with that done, we have gotten all the Polys through. I don't think it was ever in question. I mean, they get Surf, they get Sleep, they're pretty darn good. But now we need to check in on Sir Quack, the Psyduck, and see if he can keep going in this section. He needed Ice Beam in order to get through rival number 2. Ice Beam should be enough here once we get to rival 3, and then we're just gonna have to see if it's enough for Morty. So a massive thank you to Toxic Cross, who has been a channel member for 1 year now. Appreciate ya. You just had your anniversary in February. Thank you for supporting Sir Quack for so long. Now I think that this Pokemon's gonna do just fine with the Ice Beam and Confusion in this section. We might need to upgrade some moves though, we'll just have to see. Still, we'll stick with this moveset as far as we can, but I do think we're gonna slap on Surf at some point here. And funny enough, it's kind of hard to get through this section with a Psyduck. Scratch is often doing more damage than Confusion here in this section against the Kimono Girls, making this kind of suspect. I think we should upgrade our moveset because I've already reset a couple times here, and honestly I think Headbutt is the way to go. And with that move, we are at least getting to the Jolteon now. I was trying to fight from the Flareon, supposedly our easiest matchup, but with no water moves, we were actually struggling really hard there. And now I'm worried about Jolteon because this is such a fast Pokemon. We might not actually stand a chance here, or we might have to get a lucky freeze. I honestly don't know. So here against the Jolteon, I'm going to go Ice Beam. It does slightly less than half with its Thunder Shock, so that was actually kind of nice. We survived 2 Thunder Shocks, so 1 critical hit from Ice Beam will get us through this fight. Now the question is, will Headbutt do significantly more damage though? And no, it's basically about the same with this move. We still need 1 critical hit. We finally get it after several attempts, so we can move on, and I'm going to learn Surf immediately here because we just need stronger moves. So I'm going to forget Tail Whip in order to learn Surf, and now we're going to make our way down to the Lighthouse because I think we need more battles if we're really going to be standing any real chance against the rival. Plus, we're probably going to need to go for Quick Claw luck on that first Haunter if I have to guess. So once again, I will not learn the move Screech because I don't think it's going to be that useful to us. Again, it could be a mistake. Maybe there's a spot where we need a physical move and we need a little bit more damage, and Screech could be the play. But honestly, I think from this point on, mostly Screech would just be redundant with using the same move twice in a row or trying to get a critical hit, because I highly doubt we're setting up like 3 Screeches on an opponent. Most of the time, we'd probably get only 1 off and then have to go back into our attacks. So now with an extra couple levels, let's see if we can manage to get through the rival here. We're still too slow to outspeed against the Haunter, so I think this is a Quick Claw spot. So let's just see the ranges on this first attempt. Starting with Surf on the Haunter, of course after it goes for Curse, we're going to one-shot that Pokemon. Magnemite comes out next. I'm simply going to stick with Surf on this one and get the 1-hit KO. Bayleaf, we can go Ice Beam. We are faster. This is a 2-hitter, but it goes for Poison Powder, so we get to knock it out. And we get the final Zubat, where once again, Ice Beam is super effective. So we get the 1-hitter and we beat him on the first attempt with Sir Quack. Oh yes. Oh, Psyduck is far too powerful. Oh man, I thought this Pokemon was going to be a headache, but no. So just like that, we will move on to the gym, where I think between Ice Beam, Confusion, and Surf, we can get through this, but let's just see. So here in the Morty fight, I don't think we're going to be outspeeding against the Haunters, but I still think the best play is to go with the Mint Berry on this Pokemon. So let's just test this out and see. So Morty attempt number 1, I think there's nothing to do but just go for Surf on the first Ghastly. We get the 1-hit KO. Haunter comes out next. I'm going Surf, and we did outspeed the first Haunter, so we do manage to knock that out in a single hit. Now on to Gengar. The question is, should I try to go for Confusion? Should I try to get the Freeze with Ice Beam or just go Surf? Obviously, Surf is the strongest move here due to the same type attack bonus, and it misses the first Hypnosis. This appears to be a 2-hitter, but in fact, it takes 3 hits to knock Gengar out. Still, we dodged a couple of Hypnosises, so we did manage to get through. We're to the final Haunter. It goes Nightshade. I'm going Surf. This is going to be a 2-hit KO to get through this Pokemon, but we managed to get through thanks to the fact that we got there on full health. So turns out Psyduck really not that bad once you give it Ice Beam. Who would have thought? Clearly, that's what Misty was doing wrong in the anime when she could never get this Pokemon to do what she wanted. She just needed to teach it Ice Beam, and it would have been a good enough Pokemon to get through 4 gyms. We'll have to see how far this Pokemon keeps going, but keep in mind, even if Ice Beam is resisted, there are a lot of spots where it could still freeze an opponent and give us a chance to get through. So yeah, I think Psyduck might just have a chance to continue for a little while longer at least. So Toxicross, thank you so much again for your support, and let's keep Sir Quack rolling in this challenge. So with that done, we've found water types, really they don't struggle at all here. Once you get Surf, I mean, unless you're Lantern in Shincho, you basically crush this section of the game. I gotta say, it's kind of sad when you see like, Lantern there in the unreasonable TMs category when Psyduck just completely crushed this section of the game with Surf. Granted, I mean, having access to Ice Beam is a massive advantage, but still, that's kind of ridiculous, honestly. Like, who would have thought that Psyduck with Ice Beam is better than Lantern? But now let's move on in our challengers. We need to check in on our Primeape, the random fighting type here that I think could be kind of interesting, but I think it learns Dig, so it's probably going to be fine, but let's check into it and find out. So Primeape comes into this section knowing Karate Chop, Mud Slap, Low Kick, and Rage. Now we can learn Elemental Punches and Dig in this section. I think Dig is the only move that really makes sense. Now we are fast enough to outspeed against the Haunter here, so this might be enough to get us through, but let's just test it out and see how much damage we do with Mud Slap. If it's not enough, we'll just slap on the Dig and see if that gets us through. So first up on the Haunter, I'm going Mud Slap. We did about a third here, so this is going to be a 3-hit KO. It goes Curse, so we knock it out the next turn. Out comes the Bayleaf. We can just go Karate Chop here. We're kind of hoping for the critical hit. We do manage to knock it out in 3 though. Out next is the Zubat though, and we don't have anything really good here. Obviously, Rage isn't going to do enough damage at that point, so we simply lose. So we're starting to hit that point where Rage isn't that good. I mean, it could build up and be really good, but once you have these ghost types in front of you, it's just not a great move. But still, I'm going to keep it on the moveset right now, and I'm going to learn Headbutt instead. I'm going to put Headbutt over Low Kick. I know Low Kick has a chance to flinch an opponent, whereas Karate Chop has the chance to get a critical hit. I think I'd like the higher crit chance for more opportunities to get through, especially because Headbutt can also flinch opponents. And besides, we're going to get a move like Cross Chop as we continue in this one, which will be our best fighting type move. So for now, I'm going to forget Low Kick in order to learn Headbutt. Again, tell me if you think it is a mistake. But now coming back into this one, we will Dig on the first Haunter, and that doesn't get the 1-hit KO. It survives just barely. Now the Bayleaf comes out. We're still going to go Karate Chop here because, again, I'd like to get the crits. It goes for Reflect, which is terrible for me. But then I do get a critical hit to knock it out. Zubat comes out next, but the Reflect is still up. So Headbutt doesn't do enough. We did get a nice flinch, but it's like a 3-hit KO due to the fact that Reflect was up. I think we need a run with no Reflect. So the next attempt we dig and we do get the one-hit KO on the Haunter. So clearly that Pokemon is a range right here. So best play, go down to the Lighthouse and you're probably guaranteed to just get the one-hitter there. So now on full health without the curse, we're going to get the easy 3-hit KO on the Bayleaf. We do get poisoned, but I think that's fine as we go into the Zubat. And without the Reflect on, this is going to be a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon as it flinches. And finally, he sends out the Magnemite. We just go Karate Chop and get the easy 1-hit KO thanks to our super effective move. Dig obviously would have done the job too, but why delay the inevitable? Just get the Karate Chop and get the quick victory. But with that done, we're basically ready to level up in this first fight, which means we're going to outspeed against the Gengar here. So I think Dig is enough, but let's test it out and see. So Morty, attempt number 1 with our Primeape. I'm just going to spam Dig obviously here, but let's see if we get the one-hitters or not. Of course, on the first Ghastly, it's an easy 1-hit KO. We're faster than Haunter where we can dig. I think this one should be a one-hitter as well. Now Gengar. We're faster, we dig, and it is not a one-hitter, it is a 2-hit KO. He manages to put me to sleep, and now Dream Eater is doing massive damage, but we wake up, and now we can dig and knock that Pokemon out. We make it to the final Haunter, we outspeed, dig, and get the victory. So even with sleep and 1 Dream Eater, we survived and still managed to win. If I had just put the Mint Berry on, that would have been an easy, guaranteed first attempt victory, but hey, we get it either way. So Primeape doing perfectly fine here. But with that done, we're about halfway through this episode, and it's the point in the Pokedex where we would come to my personal Pokemon. It is time to check in on our Arcanine, the Pokemon that will scout ahead and see what's going to happen in the next section, just so that we have a little bit of a preview, because Morty is turning out not to be particularly difficult. I think with unreasonable TMs, especially the Hidden Power Dark and Return, and in some cases moves like Blizzard and Thunder and Fire Blast, are basically enough to get you through this section. As long as you get one of those moves, you're probably okay for getting through the Rival and Morty, since I mean everything gets Hidden Power Dark, but we're starting to see more and more Pokemon have to rely on those sorts of moves in order to progress, and Arcanine should at least give us a chance to see what kind of challenges are coming ahead. So the first thing that we need to talk about in the next section is of course routing. Now Arcanine already completed the Lighthouse, but I'm going to go to the Lighthouse first with every single Pokemon. If they haven't done this section yet, we will do this section here before we continue on in the game. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, shouldn't you just go to the Rocket Hideout? I mean, that section's super easy. Well, you see, the reason I don't necessarily want to go to the Rocket Hideout is because one of the required trainers is rocking a team full of Magnemites. Now, for our Arcanine, that's not really a big deal, but for some Pokemon, that could actually be an insurmountable wall, meaning they'd be better off going and getting through the Lighthouse and getting those extra levels plus rare candy that are available there. Now in this one, I was already over here, so I decided to just pop over to Cyanwood in order to get access to the secret potion as well, because we're definitely going to take on Jasmine before Chuck in this one, just given our type effectiveness. So I'm just going to go ahead and take care of that right now, getting Jasmine back to her gym. And in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and try the Jasmine fight with our Arcanine, because while we're not at a super high level by any means, we have a super effective move. We might just be able to find a way through Jasmine here. So Jasmine attempt number 1, I'm just going to go Flame Wheel on the Magnemite and get the easy 1-hit KO. Steelix comes out next. We can go Flame Wheel, and we did about half. Goes Rock Throw, and we just barely missed the range to knock it out in 2 hits. So clearly this is a spot where we just need a better range, and I think we managed to get through here. So this time we get more of like a 3-hit range on this Pokemon, and she misses a Rock Throw on me. So now I'm simply going to go into the offensive with Flame Wheel when she uses the Hyper Potion, and we do manage to knock out Steelix this time, getting to level 26. So then Flame Wheel on the Magnemite gets us the win with Henry. So 2 attempts to get through Jasmine even without going through the hideout. That is really not too bad. But now I do think it is time to route back to the Rocket hideout, and you're going to notice that I've given myself quite a few Master Balls. That's because in this next section, we're actually going to have to catch some Pokemon in order to avoid some extra experience. And while you could just chuck normal Pokeballs or Great Balls or this Ultra Ball that I just picked up, I'm going in with Master Balls just to save time, because otherwise I could be sitting here grinding away at this section for a really long time. Now the first Pokemon that we have to catch or knock out is the red Gyarados, and obviously if we knock this Pokemon out we would get XP, and I would consider that to no longer be minimum battles. Whenever we're up against these wild Pokemon that we can catch, and besides Gyarados is a pretty good HM Pokemon, we're going to avoid gaining XP in these spots. So here I'm just simply going to catch this Pokemon and we can add it to the Pokedex, and we get through that section. So now we come and talk to Lancey Boy, and he's gonna let us go down and beat up on some Rockets. Now in the Rocket hideout, there's one thing that we have to worry about. There are these statues down here, and every time you walk in front of one of these, you have to fight 2 Rockets back to back. Now, of course, with a legendary Pokemon, this is hardly difficult, but it is something that we have to worry about because of the nature of a minimum battles challenge. Because, for example, if we escape rope out of here and then come back in, we would have to fight trainers again in front of this statue. So what we have to do is we have to come and fight against this scientist. Jed here is going to lead off with multiple Magnemites. And with a fire type, we can simply knock these Pokemon out nice and quick. And after knocking out all 3 of his Magnemites, we're now able to touch the PC right here where we press the button, and that causes those Rockets to no longer spawn when we walk in front of these statues. And that's the reason why some Pokemon might not want to come here, because those 3 Magnemites could be really tough if you're just using, for example, normal type moves or flying type moves. On the other hand, if you're coming in with fire type moves, fighting type moves, ground type moves, you're probably okay to get through there. Now after that, there are quite a few Rockets down here that are skippable, so we basically have to fight this first guy who is blocking the way, but then this guy right here is skippable. We can just walk behind him, and here we just have to talk to the 2 Rockets that have the passwords. On the next floor, this guy is a spinner, but he is actually skippable. Now I'm using a patch that makes it so that he will never look at me, but usually you have to come right here and then time him out in order to move past him. Now in this section we can get TM46, which is Thief, so we get a legit dark type move that some Pokemon could add. We can briefly encounter the rival and then come in here to fight the executive. Now of course he has nothing that he can do against the legendary, so he simply goes down, and we talk to the Murkrow to get the passphrase for the final section. Now as we come out, we have to be careful to once again avoid this guy, and we can come right here. Let's save the game and open this door. That brings us to the final fight against the Rocket executives here. She leads off with an Arbok that we can, I think, get through pretty easily. I mean, Wrap is going to do hardly anything, and we can simply knock it out in 2 Flame Wheels. Murkrow is out next. I'm just going to stick with the Flame Wheel here. Don't think there's any reason to change. We easily knock that one out, and now Gloom is an easy 1-hit KO, allowing us to get to level 29 with our Arcanine and defeat everything in this section. But now we have to deal with the fact that there are 3 Electrodes here. Yet again, these Pokemon either have to be knocked out or caught. Of course, if we knock them out, we get experience, so we have to catch these 3 Electrodes. Yet again, you could chuck Pokeballs, Great Balls, Ultra Balls, doesn't really matter, but here I've given myself Master Balls just to make this a little more efficient. Again, it's probably not a massive amount of experience, but it might be enough to add 1 additional level to a Pokemon, which at this point in the game, 1 additional level could be really, really important in some of these battles. Now with that done, we get HM6 from good old Lancy Boy, and we can make our way out of this section. And with that part done, now we can come up here and go to the gatehouse that was occupied by Team Rocket, and now we can take TM36 so that our poison type Pokemon will actually get to learn their best move, Sludge Bomb. Unfortunately, not learnable by Crobat, which is kind of sad. We'll just have to see how that Pokemon does without it. But for now, I'm going to take Arcanine now into Pryce's gym. Since we have a type advantage, I think this is going to be pretty easy. Now, again, this guy right here in front of us is a spinner. In a normal run, you would have to time him out and basically save and reset to get past this guy. But here, since we're using this mod where he never looks at us, we can go past him twice without ever running into him. Basically just up, right, down, left, up, right, and you make it to Pryce. So now against Pryce, we have a type advantage, I think. I'm not sure if he knows water moves on his Seal or Dugong, but I think Flame Wheel will be enough. So Pryce attempt number 1 here. Of course, Flame Wheel is resisted by Seal, but we get the burn. And now I'm just going to go into Takedown in order to knock it out. Dugong is a dual type, so Flame Wheel is neutrally effective here, but still doesn't do great damage. We do manage to get the burn, so I'm just going to stick with this. And it takes a few hits to knock that Pokemon out, but we do manage to get through. Piloswine comes out next, and the only move that we don't resist here is Fury Attack. And this Pokemon is an Ice Ground type, is going to be weak to Flame Wheel, so it's going to be an easy 2-hit KO, simply knock that Pokemon out. So just like that, my legendary Pokemon, Henry the Arcanine, gets through Pryce's gym with no issues whatsoever. So that leaves only one last challenge for us in this section, which is to go down and take on Chuck's gym. A lot of Pokemon are going to want to take on Chuck first, especially all the Pokemon that have flying type moves, psychic type moves, etc. But for fire types, I think honestly Jasmine and Pryce are the way to go first, and then route back down to Chucky Boy to see if we can get through him then. Now the advantage in Chuck's gym for Pokemon that go there first, of course, is that there are quite a few trainers before Chuck, allowing them to potentially gain some levels. We also get Whirlpool here, so in theory we could make our way into the Whirl Islands in order to get a rare candy at this point as well, which could help. But here I'm simply going to come in and try this gym with my Arcanine. The big challenge here, honestly, at the beginning is just these 2 black belts, because you get a fight that you have to fight back to back. Still, I think Arcanine is strong enough to get through this. He leads off with a Hitmonlee, of course, which we are faster than, and Flame Wheel doesn't do as much damage as I had hoped. This is a 3-hit KO on this Pokemon, and we took a lot of damage there. We do manage to level up to level 30 as we now take on the Hitmonchan, but I'm not sure if we're getting through this. They have lower defense than special defense. Let's just see. So Takedown did decent damage, and now we can Flame Wheel in order to knock that Pokemon out. So we just barely managed to get through the first 2 black belts. So that section could just end up being legit hard for a lot of Pokemon. Once we're through it though, we get to take on these guys one at a time, and I think we're going to be able to get to Chuck just fine. Now it's important to note that Chuck's wife here does give Fly, but she won't give you Fly until you beat the gym leader. So you actually have to beat Chuck to get Fly. The flying types are not just going to get an upgraded move coming into this gym. But with that, we are able to make it to Chucky Boy himself, and let's just see if Arcanine can manage to get through. We're definitely going to be using some Takedown here, and Headbutt could honestly be a play as well in order to try to get some flinches. But let's see if we can get it to go. So first up, of course, he has the Primeape. We're simply going to go for the Flame Wheel and get the easy 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. Out next is the Poliwrath. This is the one I'm worried about. Now it does have lower special defense than defense, but still both stats are really good, and it does know Surf and Hypnosis, so it has a lot of ways to potentially take us down. We are in a 3-hit KO range, it looks like, with the Takedown. Surf does massive damage, so we would need a crit here in order to get through with Arcanine. So here I think the best play is to add on Headbutt, and I'm going to learn this over Roar. I don't think Roar is going to be particularly useful in this challenge. We don't really have phasing strats here, but let's just see if Headbutt maybe gives us a better range since we could get a flinch on that Pokemon. This time we get through to the Poliwrath on full health, but I'm still going to Headbutt it once. We get a nice flinch there, so I'm going to just Headbutt again. We get another flinch, and then it finally lands Surf, but we can go Headbutt and knock that Pokemon out. And just like that, Arcanine manages to complete all 3 gyms and the Rocket Hideout. Now, of course, after that, we will be called by Professor Elm telling us to go back to Goldenrod because we have to complete that section before we can go to Blackthorn. But with that done, we can get access to Fly now, and just like that, we are ready to move on in the game. But what we can see there is that even with the legendary dog Pokemon Arcanine, it's not like all of these battles in this section are just a cakewalk. Clearly, we can find ways through with good Pokemon here, but it's pretty clear that some weaker Pokemon are gonna struggle in some spots. And this might be the part of the game where some Pokemon that have been kind of pretenders up to this point start to run into those walls. Consider that a Pokemon using Mud Slap against Jasmine probably isn't going to do enough damage to Steelix to actually get through that fight with any sort of reasonable strategy. And a lot of these trainers are smart enough to know if they get you in a one-hit KO range, I expect normal types to really struggle coming in here just in the first fight in Chuck's gym. So we're just going to have to see if it's enough or not, but that will all depend, of course, on how we end up with Morty, but I think a lot of Pokemon are getting through this section, so it's really going to be the next 3 gyms that I think start to whittle out some of the pretenders, though I think a lot of Pokemon are still going to continue through this section, especially if they're in the medium slow level up group. Arcanine as a slow level up Pokemon got to level 31 in this section. That will be the lowest level that any of our challengers are at once they get to this point in the game. So I would be very interested to hear what your predictions are for our past Pokemon in that next section. Honestly, our normal flying type Pokemon might be in for a brutal section, and so too some of these electric types, because what are they even going to use against Jasmine? That's all a question for the future, but for now, let's get back into the action today, and it is time to check in on our psychic type Pokemon, Kadabra, Alakazam, and Girafarig. So we will of course lead off with our Alakazam that knows Confusion, Kinesis, Psybeam, and Disable at this point. I'm not sure how it's going to do against the Kimono Girls. I think we have to learn a new move just to be able to get through the Umbreon, but we might not actually need to deal with them in order to get through this section. But otherwise, our best bet is probably to just add on a move like Fire Punch. It will help against the Magnemite, and maybe that's enough to get through here, but I'm going to test this out and just see how we do. So for now, I just went ahead and beat all the Kimono Girls except for the Umbreon trainer, since I don't have a move that I can really use against a dark type. And now I'm just going to go straight to Rival 3 and see if I can manage to beat him. If I can't, then we'll throw on that Fire Punch and we can probably take down the Umbreon too. So Rival 3 attempt number 1, of course on the Haunter, I'm just going Psybeam, and that's an easy one-hit KO. Magnemite comes out next, and of course it resists my moves, but we're still going to get a 2-hit KO with this Psybeam here. And after that, Zubat is an easy one-hitter. And finally, we've got the Bayleaf, which I'm not too worried about. We're going to get a 2-hit KO range from the looks of things, and it's not like Razor Leaf does that much to an Alakazam. So we easily get through the Rival 3 fight, even without defeating the Umbreon Kimono Girl, and now we can make our way into Morty's gym, where I think it's more of the same, but let's find out. And here we even get to level up and learn Recover. I'm going to learn this move over Kinesis, since Kinesis isn't perfectly accurate and it's just an accuracy strat in and of itself. I think Disable, while it's very inaccurate, might actually have some usefulness in certain cases to stop our opponents from using a key move, so I think Kinesis is the move to forget. And just like that, we easily make it to Morty, so let's see if he's just a one-hit KO fest. Of course, Psybeam, it will one-shot against the Ghastly. Haunter is out next. We'll once again Psybeam on that Pokemon. Gengar comes out, and we still get the one-hitter there. So we're just completely crushing Morty's team. He never stood a chance against Alakazam. So all that leaves us with is needing to fight that last Kimono Girl, because I don't want to forget and move on in the game. And for now, I think Fire Punch is the most logical move. It's going to help us against Jasmine, it's going to be super effective against Pryce, and we can just forget that move later on because it's always purchasable from the Goldenrod department store. So I think we just slap that on over Confusion since Confusion is now redundant, and let's just beat up on this last Kimono Girl. And here, sure enough, Fire Punch is an easy 2-hit KO on the Espeon at this level, so we can grab the Surf HM and we are ready to move on in the game. So Alakazam completely crushes this section of the game. Now let's look at our normal Psychic type in Girafarig before we step down the Alakazam line. And now Girafarig has the advantage that while it has Stab Confusion, it also has Stomp, which is the same type move. So this Pokemon should in theory do pretty well here. The main issue is that we don't get a whole lot of additional moves if we start to struggle. Like, yes, we can go for Mud Slap strats and things like Headbutt, but outside of that, we're basically looking at unreasonable TMs in order to get more coverage. However, we do get to learn Agility via level up here, and I'm going to learn this move. I'm going to put it over Growl for now because I just honestly don't think Growl's going to be that important, but Agility could be huge if we just need to outspeed something and, for example, go for Stomp in order to get flinch strats on it. So I'm simply going to learn that move. And unlike Alakazam, thanks to Stab Stomp, we don't even have to worry about the Espeon here in the Kimono Girl section. We easily destroy all of those trainers on the first attempt. So with that, I'm going to go straight to the rival. We're already faster than the Haunter, and I think Confusion's going to be enough, but let's see if it actually manages the one-hitter or not. So Rival 3 attempt number 1, we lead off with Confusion. It is not a one-hit KO. It's a 2-hitter, so he does manage to curse us there. Now we're going to Stomp on the Magnemite, but this is going to be a 3-hit KO to knock this Pokemon out. We get a nice critical hit to knock it out in 2 though. Now we can Stomp on the Zubat, still not a 1-hitter there. So we knock it out the next turn. I mean, we probably should have gone Confusion. And finally, out comes the Bayleaf. Stomp appears to be a 3-hitter on this Pokemon. So now if we had gotten the one-shot on the Zubat, I think we would have gotten through there. So I'm simply going to reset and try this one again. This time though, we get knocked out by the Magnemite because we didn't get a critical hit there. So honestly, this is probably a little luck-based at this point. I think we're better off to go to the Lighthouse and just gain the extra levels that we can. So back again 2 levels higher. Let's just see if we can manage to get it to go now. So again on the Haunter, I'm simply going to go Confusion, and that does in fact get the 1-hit KO at this point. So now Magnemite comes out. We basically want to go Stomp. I think it's our best strategy here. Also for flinches, still a 3-hit KO here. We get Sonic Boomed, but we get through nice and easy. Zubat's out next. Confusion will get the 1-hitter on that Pokemon. And finally Bayleaf. The best strategy is to just Stomp this Pokemon and try to get the flinches, and we get 2 flinches in a row and easily win. So now with the rival done, let's just make our way into Morty's gym and see how he actually goes. Now of course we easily make our way to the gym leader, but the problem we have compared to the Alakazam is number 1, we're still only rocking Confusion here, not Psybeam, and number 2, we're in the medium fast level up group, so we're actually at a lower level when we get here than the Alakazam was. Add to that our special attack isn't as good. We might not be in a 1-hit KO fest here on this one, so I'm going to give myself the Mint Berry just to be safe, and let's just go in and spam Confusion and hope it works. So first up, we have the Ghastly, of course, and we get an easy 1-hit KO on that Pokemon. Hunter is out next. We are faster, and we are able to simply one-shot it. We also outspeed the Gengar, so we can simply go Confusion. This is going to be a 2-hit KO, but it gets confused. It does put us to sleep, but fortunately the Mint Berry wakes us right up so that we can get on in this battle. And at level 27, after the level up, we can simply use Confusion to one-shot the Haunter. So Morty is super easy. Obviously, you can't go Shadow Ball there because we're also a normal type. So he's basically stuck trying to go for Hypnosis Dream Eater against a Psychic type Pokemon. So yeah, Girafarig basically breaks this fight. I'm not sure how it's going to do going forward though. Honestly, we could really struggle when we get to Jasmine with this Pokemon because we don't get anything that's really good against ground types. I mean, we learned Rock Smash and we learned Mud Slap, but those are 20 base power moves, and all of our stab is resisted, so that could be a really tough spot to get through. We're just gonna have to see. But for now, Girafarig does move on, and hopefully it can find its way through Chuck and Pryce before it goes to Jasmine, and then find a way through. But with that done, let's now step down in the Alakazam line. Let's check in on our Kadabra. So with Kadabra, I'm actually going to follow the same routing as I used with Alakazam, basically just because I'd like to have more PP to easily knock out all the randos inside of Morty's gym with confusion. So we'll come back and fight the Umbreon trainer at the end. So first attempt against the rival, we're just going Psybeam on the Haunter to get an easy KO. Out comes the Magnemite, and this looks to be a 2-hitter, so we're easily going to knock it out. We did get a Sonic Boom, but that's perfectly fine. Zubat obviously stands no chance against us, and out comes the Bayleaf, and we still appear to have a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon. It actually is a 3-hitter. We just barely missed the range to knock it out, but we get through nice and easy. Kadabra is a pretty easy Pokemon to get through that Rival 3 fight. Makes me feel pretty confident for some of the future Psychic types coming in here. So now let's just quickly go through these randos in the gym and make our way to Morty. And here, once again, we will learn Recover. I'm going to go with the same logic of forgetting Kinesis. Tell me if it's a mistake, but I mean, we could go Mud Slap if we really wanted to go accuracy strats on something. So I think this is the best play. And sure enough, we one-shot all the randos in the gym, so it's time for Morty. Let's see how he goes. So I'm simply going to put Psybeam in the top slot. We get an easy 1-hitter on the first Ghastly, more of the same on the Haunter. Let's see the range on Gengar. It is still a 1-hitter with this Pokemon, and out comes the Haunter, which we know is a guaranteed 1-hitter if Gengar went down in one, so we easily get through yet again. Morty never stood a chance. So that leaves the final boss of this section again being the Umbreon, but I think we just have to do the same strategy of throw on Fire Punch and easily win. So let's test it out here. Fire Punch again does about half to this Pokemon, and it's a 2-hit KO. Easy victory there. We can simply move on with Kadabra. It was never in question with this Pokemon. I think that honestly, outside of Jasmine, which we can just use Fire Punch on, this Pokemon is basically OP for all of Johto. I think it's going to get through nice and easy. I could turn out to be wrong, but I expect that Kadabra is going to last for quite a while. So that, of course, brings us to Abra, the Pokemon that is now being supported by Renny Yguaneti, a 3-month channel member who jumped in just in time to save this Pokemon. It was originally added thanks to a super chat message, but it was just such an interesting idea. I had to see if I could do it. Abra with a Zap Cannon and now the 3 elemental punches, so it doesn't have stab psychic moves, and in fact will not learn a same type move until it gets to Psychic in Kanto if it gets that far. Still, it has speed and it has a lot of type coverage here, so this might be a situation where we can manage to get through. We're just gonna have to test it out and see. I think a lot of this comes down to what kind of ranges we get with Zap Cannon when it does hit. So I'm gonna see if we can manage to get through the Umbreon right now, basically just spamming Ice Punch. I'm not sure if it's gonna work out though. We did about a third here and we are faster, so maybe, just maybe, we managed to get through. We just barely get the range, but it does manage to work out, so we don't have to come back here at the end. But now I'm much more worried about whether or not we can actually get through that Haunter. Are we gonna have to fish for a freeze? Do we need a lucky Zap Cannon hit in order to get through? One thing's for sure, this isn't gonna be as good as some of the Psychic types that we've been running previously that could at least use their same type moves against this Haunter. We may end up having to go down to the Lighthouse. I'm honestly not sure. So Rival 3 attempt number 1, I'm going to go for Zap Cannon. We managed to hit it and we get the Paralysis, but this is clearly not a 1-hit KO. We would need 2 hits in order to knock this Pokemon out, but it's fully paralyzed. So I'm just going to use Ice Punch to finish that Pokemon off. Magnemite comes out next. Of course, we can go Fire Punch. That's an easy 1-hit KO. Zubat comes out. We'll go for the Thunder Punch. Again, an easy 1-hitter. And now the Bayleaf. I think Ice Punch is the best play in case we get the freeze, but it's a 2-hit KO either way. So Zap Cannon Abra with elemental punches completely destroys the rival with basically no issues. So now we can simply move on. Like, we got poisoned in that last fight, but we'll simply heal up. And then we can make our way into Morty's gym where maybe the elemental punches are enough. Maybe we don't even need to go for the Zap Cannon. Let's find out. So we have made it through all the randos. Now we just have to fight Morty himself. Of course, we are not one-shotting any of the Haunters with our elemental punches here. Not sure if Zap Cannon would get through or not, but for now we just have to come in and try this fight, I think, because honestly we would only gain 1 level by going to the lighthouse anyway. It would get us to a damage rounding threshold at level 28 though, so it could still be worthwhile. More likely we just need a mint berry here though. Let's see. So Morty, attempt number 1, I'm just gonna go for Fire Punch on the first Ghastly. We do in fact get a one-hitter there, and I'm not sure if it's worth the Zap Cannon on the Haunter or not. I'm gonna just YOLO it. We do manage to one-shot that Pokemon. Gengar is out next. I'm actually gonna go Ice Punch here, hoping to get a freeze. Instead we get a crit, but Shadow Ball one-shots us from full health. So maybe the Zap Cannon is the way to go there. Maybe we just need the lucky paralysis, but let's see. So once again, we Zap Cannon the Haunter, but this time it hangs on with 2 HP. So this is clearly a range on this Pokemon. Gengar is out next. We go for Zap Cannon, we fail, and then we get knocked out by the Shadow Ball. So this time we do hit the Zap Cannon. It does about half to the Gengar and it gets paralyzed, but of course it simply moves. So I think the only thing to do really is go for that 10% chance of getting the freeze there. Consider that Zap Cannon is only 50% accurate, and then after that it's a 25% chance that he doesn't move due to paralysis. So I mean, we're talking like a 12.5% chance there, whereas at least the Ice Punch we're guaranteed to hit every time, so we get to see if we get the freeze or not. So this time we finally get the freeze and we do knock out the Gengar, bringing us to the final Haunter. It can of course use Nightshade against us, but we have enough HP to get through. So this one is very, very luck based. You need to get a freeze on the Gengar. You're just simply not getting through otherwise. Of course, we could have gone for Hidden Power Dark, which with our high special stat would actually be a pretty decent move there and probably get us through. Not sure it would be one-shotting against the Gengar there. It probably needs a crit in order to get the one-hitter, but all in all, this is just a tough Pokemon to get through here. It is possible, and getting a freeze is a 10% chance that is better than the odds of getting a critical hit there. So technically this is fine by my rules, but it's definitely getting pretty close. And honestly, I don't think this Pokemon's going to be as good against the fighting gym as we probably expect, because of the fact that it doesn't have a psychic type move. So it's just not going to have as much damage output there, and it's really going to be banking on some luck, I think, to get through. I think Fire Punch will get us through Jasmine as long as it deals enough damage, and you know, if we can get an Iron Tail miss from the Steelix, but honestly even that might be pretty luck based. We're just gonna have to see if Abra continues on or not, but for now it has gotten through the Morty gym. So I just want to give a massive thank you to Renny Yguaneti. If I'm saying it wrong, please let me know, but he jumped in to support this Pokemon after we did that cool section for a super chat, and now Mybra is running through the rest of this section of the game. So thank you very much. So that brings us to our last 4 Pokemon of the day. They're all kind of interesting one-off cases in my opinion. We have the Murkrow, Misdreavus, Gligar, and of course the Steelix. Let's just tackle them in that order and see how they actually go. Now we would expect Murkrow to do reasonably well here, and it's coming in with Peck, Pursuit, Haze, and Mudslap. So Stab Pursuit might actually be decent here since it's super effective. We're gonna have to use that Mudslap in order to get through the Magnemite, I think, but honestly outside of that we might be doing just fine. And as long as you take on the Jolteon last, there's no real issue there in the Kimono Girl section, so we can come straight to the rival, and I expect that we're going to be able to get through the first Haunter. I'm much more concerned about how we're going to do against that Magnemite though, so let's just see if this works or not. So first up on Haunter, of course, I'm going to go for Pursuit. It is not a one-hit KO at our current level, so it does curse us. Out comes the Magnemite. We're going for the Mudslap. This is going to be a 2-hit KO, but we get Thundershock, so definitely not ideal. Out comes the Zubat next. We're going to get a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, and then we're up against the Croconaw, against which we really just don't have anything good, so we're going to have to go for the Pursuit there and simply go down. Now, one thing I want to check is how does Haze interact with Curse? Well, this time we're not going to get a C because the Haunter doesn't curse us, so we simply get to knock it out after it uses Spite. Now we can go into Mudslap on the Magnemite. It misses Supersonic, so now we're through on full health to the Zubat, where I'm just going to go with the Peck and get the easy 2-hitter here. And that brings us back to Croconaw, where Pursuit is the play due to its lower special defense, and we get a 4-hit KO, but we do manage to win this time. So just second attempt, we were able to get through. But again, I'm kind of interested interested to see, what does Haze do to Curse? Does it get rid of Curse? Because, I mean, it gets rid of other status ailments, so it would kind of make sense. I may test that out just a little bit here inside of Morty's gym. So here we got Cursed, but we still are affected by Curse after the Haze. Okay, so it has no effect on that move. Like, it made sense that since it heals status ailments, it could have worked here, but it does not affect that sort of damage. Now, via level up, we do get to learn Nightshade, and since this move does allow us to deal fixed damage, it might actually be useful going forward. The question is, do we want this move? We are a medium slow level up Pokemon, so we're going to get more levels than a lot of our other challengers, and it could be a situation where Nightshade ends up doing more damage than Mudslap against Jasmine? I'm honestly not sure about this, but I'm gonna just go ahead and learn the move, I think, over Mudslap. This could be a massive mistake, but considering that Arcanine was at level 31 at that point, we're gonna be at a higher level with a medium slow level up Pokemon. And that may just give us an automatic range on opponents that's much better than any of our other moves could manage. So yeah, let's just try. So just like that, we do make it to Morty, and let's just see how we do in this section. So against the Ghastly, we go Pursuit and get the easy one-hitter. Gengar comes out next, Pursuit, and it goes Shadow Ball, which does very little, so we simply knock it out in 2 hits. Haunter comes out next, we can one-shot that Pokemon, and the second Haunter at level 23 still didn't stand a chance. Murkrow completely destroys this gym. So Murkrow gets through without too much difficulty. Now let's check in on Misdreavus, because we've seen a couple Pokemon now that Morty is just using Shadow Ball against. Misdreavus might be one of those, and it might be a Pokemon that's actually scared of that move. And of course, Misdreavus is running like the most random moveset ever with Swift, Psywave, Spite, and Confuse Ray here, so we don't even have a really good, strong move to use outside of Swift. We could upgrade to Headbutt if we really need to, but we don't get Psybeam until level 27. So we might get that move in time for Morty, but we're not going to get it in time for anything else, and there's not a whole lot else that we can learn at this point in the game. So I'm going to go into the gym here and test this out, but honestly, Hidden Power Dark might be our only shot of getting through the rival, and even then, we don't have anything great for the Magnemite. It's worth noting that the Psywave does between 1 and 1.5 times your level, and when I say 1, I mean 1 damage, not 1 times your level. So really, that move is super random. If we get 1.5x our level, we could be doing 33 damage with that move. It's just a question of whether or not we could ever get that roll, but still, that's not going to be enough to one-shot anything. So I think against the rival, what we actually need to go for is Confusion first. So we confuse the Haunter, hoping it hits itself, then we'll go for Psywave and hope for good ranges. It goes Curse after it snaps out of Confusion, unfortunately. Zubat is out next. We'll simply go for Swift. This is going to be an easy 2-hitter. Then out comes the Magnemite, and the only thing we have is Psywave, and we're just hoping for really good ranges here. And of course, we are not getting them, so we're simply going down on that attempt. So I think the only play here is to replace Psywave with Hidden Power Dark. I'm also going to go to the Lighthouse though and just see how many levels I can gain over there. I think I get to level 24, and this isn't a situation where we would rare candy up. We could still learn Hidden Power Dark in order to get through that first Haunter, and I think that's going to be enough, but we'll just have to see. So we are coming back to the rival after gaining 1 level by fighting the required trainers in the Lighthouse, and after adding on Hidden Power Dark. I think, again, this is the only strategy that makes any sense in order to get through this Haunter, hopefully without getting the Curse, but let's just see. So here I go Hidden Power, and that does not get a 1-hit KO. So we need a Confusion, hitting itself in Confusion, and then knocking it out with the Hidden Power in order to have any real shot here. We get a nice critical hit on the Zubat this time at least, so we do get to knock that Pokemon out. I'm gonna have to go Confusion strats, I think, on the Magnemite. It does hit itself in Confusion once, but then we're just dealing no damage with the Psywave here. We actually get a good roll though and finally knock it out, so out comes Bayleaf, and let's just see how much damage we do. Swift would put this Pokemon into a 4-hit KO range. It poisons us. We would need a God tier Psywave, and then our Hidden Power Dark with a critical hit was not enough to knock that Pokemon out, so clearly that does not work. So let's try this again. We're gonna have to go for the Confusion first on the Haunter and hope it hits itself in Confusion. That's a 50-50 chance, and then maybe we can knock it out with the Hidden Power and avoid the curse. So here it does hit itself in Confusion. We hit Hidden Power. That is enough to knock that Pokemon out without getting cursed. Now we can go Swift on the Zubat, which is going to be a 2-hit KO. It goes for the Confuse Ray on us, and it has a super effective bite, so we actually need to avoid getting confused there as well. And now we would need a perfect range basically on the Magnemite to get through at this point. Even without the curse on, we simply go down. And with Hidden Power, Magnemite is a 3-hit KO, so we can get through that Pokemon. But now we have to see if we can get through Bayleaf. I'm going to confuse it. It still hits Razor Leaf and simply knocks me out. This time we get to Magnemite on full health, so I'm just going to go for the Hidden Power 3 times in a row. It does hit Supersonic, so we hit ourselves in Confusion once, but fortunately we don't take that much damage from Thundershock, so we do knock that Pokemon out. And now let's try to stick with the Hidden Power here, especially since we got Reflect from Bayleaf, and we want no critical hit, please. Oh, it does crit that time, and we just missed the range to knock the Bayleaf out. It survived on 1 HP there. That could be a range. That could just be a matter of getting a better hit or not getting a crit there. So once again, we get back to the Magnemite. We are confused and taking a lot of damage. I added on a berry just so that I could recover a little bit of HP here. And now let's confuse Bayleaf, hope that it hits itself. It poisons us this time. That's perfectly fine. It goes Reflect after that, and we still don't get the range to knock it out as we get knocked out by the poison. Still, we can get to the Bayleaf pretty reliably as long as we get that first turn Confusion damage on the Haunter. So I think here again, we just need the Bayleaf to actually hit itself once. So here it does hit itself in Confusion, and that does give us the range. Granted, we got a crit at the very end, but I think we would have gotten the range either way. So Misdreavus finally gets through the Rival. It is not consistent by any means. You're gonna be relying on Confusion luck. It's better than Paralysis luck, because at least with Confusion, you got a 50-50 shot, and since Confuse Ray is 100% accurate, we can actually rely on that. Compare that to like the previous run with Abra, where we were talking about getting a Paralysis. That's only a 1 in 4 chance that your opponent doesn't move. So Confusion, quite a bit better in this sort of situation where you need to steal a couple turns. Still pretty luck-based overall though. And now in the gym, we actually level up to level 27 and we get to learn Psybeam. I'm learning this over Psywave. We never want to see that move again. Psybeam will be super effective here and should give us a reasonable strategy for getting through this section. The question is, does it do enough to get us through Morty though? So I'm going to test this out. Of course, on the first attempt, we're going to go up against him just as we are. We're going to Hidden Power Dark on the Ghastly and get a nice 1-hit KO. On the Haunter, we do more of the same. Very nice. We are faster than Gengar, so we can go Hidden Power Dark. We did over half. It goes Shadow Ball and does over half to us, but we still managed to knock that Pokemon out and get to level 29. And now we can Hidden Power Dark on the Haunter, getting the victory in Morty's gym. And of course, with that, we also get access to Shadow Ball, which is our best same type move with this Pokemon. And honestly, our remaining level up moves, Pain Split and Perish Song, probably don't do that much for us in this challenge. So Shadow Ball is probably going to get added to the moveset pretty quickly here, and we're just going to have to hope that that move is enough with Psybeam, Swift, Hidden Power. But honestly, Swift might be the move that has to go, since we could obviously replace it with another normal type move, even return later on. But I'm a little bit nervous for Misdreavus going forward. Still, it does get through this section after really grinding against the Rival. But now with Psybeam, maybe this Pokemon is just massively improved. We'll just have to see in the next section. But that now brings us to Gligar, another Pokemon that I'm not sure how we're actually going to do here. And of course, Gligar is running with Swift, Sand Attack, Fury Cutter, and Hard Harden on its moveset. And while we do get Feint Attack at level 28, that's basically like right when we fight against Morty. So honestly, Hidden Power Dark might be required here. We're just gonna have to see, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Fury Cutter given that it is 4 times resisted. And if it doesn't build up enough, we're simply not going to get through. It would be so nice if we got same type ground type moves here, but unfortunately this Pokemon just gets nothing. So with this one, I'm honestly not even going to mess around. I'm going to go down to the lighthouse first because I think we just need all the levels to even have a real shot here. So we get to level 25 before taking on the rival, and we have speed and we have a good attack stat. We don't have much in the way of special attack. So I think our best strategy for now is to go in and try to use the Fury Cutter, hoping that it builds up enough to actually knock our opponents out. So we're going to need a lot of accuracy here. Let's see if this can actually work though. So leading off against the Haunter, of course, we did basically nothing with the first Fury Cutter, but if we don't get any misses, we might be able to build up. Instead, we get paralyzed here, which is like the worst result, and we don't manage to quite knock this Pokemon out as we go down to the Curse. Still, this might even be a spot for a Paralyzed Cure Berry to try to help us get through. So we get our first attempt where we actually get through the Haunter, but we still got paralyzed twice there, so we simply get one-shot by the Croconaw. The next attempt, we do manage to get through to the Croconaw without being paralyzed though, and then we one-shot that Pokemon. Zubat comes out. I know that Fury Cutter is 4 times resisted here, but honestly, is Swift gonna one-shot here? I don't think so. So I think we just have to keep going with the Fury Cutter. We missed, so we didn't even get to see the range there. We're just gonna have to test this out a few times to see what kind of ranges we get in this battle. So a couple attempts later, we are back to the Zubat, and once again miss the Fury Cutter, so we don't get to see the range. This time we do hit it, and we did about half to the Zubat. We did survive the Curse there, so we knock it out on the next turn though. Out comes the Magnemite, and we get the one-hit KO. So you basically need to have a run where you never miss a single Fury Cutter in order to get through that, and you have to not get paralyzed. So you have to have the Paralyzed Cure Berry on really, because otherwise you're never going to get that range. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. It's nice that we managed to get through even with the Curse on, but still pretty terrible. I think Hidden Power Dark is the way to go here. I think this is a Pokemon that you would reset to get a good Hidden Power. In fact, you'd probably want like Hidden Power Ghost or Hidden Power Ground. Hidden Power Ground, of course, would be your best bet with this Pokemon. You'd finally have a same type move. Honestly, that's probably what you're resetting for. And now the issue that we have is that we are actually just getting hit over and over by Nightshade, and there's no way that we can survive against all the Nightshades from these opponents because they're at too high a level. Add on Curse and it's basically a guaranteed loss against a lot of these opponents. So honestly, I think we have no choice but to upgrade our moveset with Hidden Power, at which point we can just start one-shotting these opponents. I'm going to keep Fury Cutter for now because I think it's my best strategy for some future battles, but honestly, the utter lack of same type moves for this Pokemon is really hurting us. And now via level up, we could learn Feint Attack, but I don't think it's worth anything because Hidden Power Dark is already a stronger Dark type move. So I think we just skip this one. And now we are able to make it through to Morty himself. We're just going to have to see if we can actually knock out his team, given the fact that he is going to be slower than us, but at the same time, Hidden Power Dark is not going to one-shot anything other than maybe the Ghastly. So attempt number 1, I'm going Hidden Power on the Ghastly and getting the one-hit KO. Haunter comes out next. Hidden Power is a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon as it goes for Curse. The next Haunter comes out. We can go for the Hidden Power. Goes Nightshade. We knock it out the next turn. And then out comes the Gengar. We're faster. We go for the Hidden Power. This is looking like a 3-hit KO. It goes Hypnosis. We'll go for Hidden Power again. And Curse simply knocks us out. Now a critical hit would have gotten us through there. So I guess that's the strategy, is to reset for 1 crit in this battle. But this time we actually managed to get to the Gengar without Curse on. We wake up from the Hypnosis, we knock it out the next turn, and the final Haunter comes out, but it just goes Nightshade and we're able to knock it out. So just like that, we do beat Morty on the second attempt with this Pokemon. It all comes down to the Hidden Power though. It's definitely not a fun gym to go through, and again, it just comes down to not having same type moves. If we had Hidden Power Ground, I think that would have been a cakewalk section, but unfortunately we do not, so we're just stuck with our kind of bad moveset. And I just hate to think about it, but we might be going for something like Rock Smash against Jasmine later on. This Pokemon could really struggle going forward. We'll just have to see, but for now, Gligar does manage to get through this section at least. It wasn't pretty, but it is progressing. So then, of course, brings us to Steelix rocking Tackle, Screech, Mud Slap, and Rock Throw. I expect either Rollout or Dig to come into play in this section, since honestly we don't have anything really all that much better, and we are a slow Pokemon, so there could be some Quick Claw strats here in order to get through some opponents as well. Now, interestingly, we did not really struggle on the Kimono Girls outside of them spamming Sand Attack, because like a Jolteon or an Umbreon really can't do anything with any of its other moves against Steelix, so they just seem to spam Sand Attack over and over and over again. Still, once we get through that, we can come in here to the Rival 3 fight, and let's just see how this section goes. I'm going to come with my moveset as is once, but I'm going to think about throwing on Dig and a Quick Claw as a way to get through this, because I don't expect that we're getting through that first Haunter without the Curse. Still, let's see what kind of ranges we get. Yeah, Rock Throw doesn't even one-shot it after the Curse, so we're definitely going to need something in order to get through this, especially because the Croconaw comes out next and is faster than us, so we're going to be taking some super effective water guns in this fight. So I'm going to learn Rollout and I'm going to learn Dig here, so I'm going to forget Rock Throw and I'm going to forget Mud Slap. And let's just try the Rollout strategy once just to see what it actually does. We take 2 hits to knock out the Haunter as the Croconaw comes out, and then this is going to take 2 hits to knock out the Croconaw with the Rollout. So that did not work as it was. A Quick Claw could affect things though. Now this time we actually get licked by Haunter, so we can simply Dig and knock that Pokemon out. I think we're going to go for the same strategy of Dig on the Croconaw. This appears to be a 3-hit KO, but we should be able to survive the water guns. Then it goes for Leer against me, so I actually managed to knock that Pokemon out. Zubat is out next. We know Rollout, so I guess we're going for that. It's going to take 2 hits to knock this Pokemon out, and after it flinches me a couple times, I'm simply going to knock it out with Tackle. Magnemite comes out. We are faster, so we get a Dig and get the easy one-hitter there. So yeah, no Curse makes it possible to get through, so if we get the Quick Claw to activate and Dig against that first Haunter, for example, we can in fact get through that fight. We probably actually want to upgrade the Tackle to something like Headbutt in order to get a better range there, but still, it's not a bad situation once you get the Quick Claw to activate, or you get a run where you don't get cursed. But now in the gym, I actually think I'm going to spam Rollout here a lot, because I don't expect that these Ghastlies are going to do that much to us. Now we get the chance to learn Harden, and the question is Harden worthwhile? Most of our opponents, as we go later and later into this challenge, are pretty much going to be spamming special moves against us because we resist normal type moves. So honestly, the only case where we're gonna get hit by physical moves is gonna be from fighting trainers like Chuck and Bruno, and I'm not sure if Harden will actually do enough for us there. I believe Defense Curl is an option as well later on, so I'm simply gonna skip the move for now. Again, that could be a mistake, we'll just have to see. But with that, we do manage to make it to Morty. We're role-playing as Jasmine. Can we make it through this gym? Let's find out. So I think the play is Rollout here. It's gonna take 2 hits on the first Ghastly. Haunter comes out and goes Mean Look. That's perfectly fine. We just knock it out. Next, Haunter comes out and lands the Hypnosis. Of course, we can't have a Mint Berry if we're using the Quick Claw. Gengar comes out and also goes Mean Look. Now you might be asking, hey, didn't you say that you don't get Mean Look in these ones? This is the only game that I have right now that is not patched with a patch that changes that. For some reason, there was no Steelix in the patch pack that I got. I could reverse engineer it and try to get it to go, but for now, Steelix is the Pokemon that is actually running with the vanilla game, and that introduces the possibility of Mean Look from Morty here, which gives additional ways that Pokemon could get through. So it's kind of an interesting thing to look at, that there are Pokemon that have failed or at least struggled here that would struggle a lot less less if Morty was using Mean Look. So finally we do manage to get through when we hit all of the rollouts there, and he just Mean Looks with everything other than the first Ghastly. But honestly, that's just terrible play by Morty. He's just basically going off the fact that he doesn't have anything effective against a Steel type. Still, we will take it, and Steelix moves on. I'm kind of worried about this Pokemon though, I'm not gonna lie. I think we need to get Iron Tail as soon as possible so that we have a strong same type move, and it's one of those Pokemon that I'm honestly really worried about against Chuck. I'm just not sure we're gonna get through that, and even if we do, how are we gonna do against Claire? We'll just have to see, but I expect a lot of Quick Claw with this Pokemon. But with Steelix done, that is another episode in the books. 50 Pokemon have now legitimately passed through the Morty section. An additional 11 have gotten through while using OP or unreasonable TMs. But we continue our dominance over this section. Still, I see some troubles on the horizon for some of these challengers. I'm really nervous about the fact that while some Pokemon will do really good against Pryce, for example, they might get wrecked by Jasmine and Chuck. Some Pokemon that do really good against Jasmine have trouble on Chuck and vice versa. This next section of 3 gym leaders is going to shape up to be a major gauntlet. So I think some of those past Pokemon are going to drop out in the next section. As we saw moving forward with our Arcanine, it is definitely not an easy section of the game. But that is all for later. Next time we are coming back with episode 5 of the Morty Minimal Battle series, and we've got a nice lot of challengers for that one. We are doing the entire Machop line. We have Victory Bell, Golem, Rapidash, Slowpoke, Slowbro, Slowking obviously gets in as well. Magnemite and Magneton are kind of interesting here. Snubbull, Granbull, Quillfish, Sneasel, Teddiursa, and Ursaring. 17 challengers, and I'm just going to come out and say that if there's one Pokemon that I'm really worried about in this entire section, it's that Golem. 4 times weakness to the rival's Bayleaf might mean that we simply have no way to get through. We're never going to outspeed outside of Quick Claw on the first Haunter, so we're probably Quick Claw, Dig strats there. And I've already said before, if we need multiple Quick Claws in order to win a fight, I am going to say that that Pokemon is unreasonable and they're gonna go into fail column. So if we are already Quick Clawing on the first Haunter to try to knock that Pokemon out, we cannot also require a Quick Claw on the Bayleaf, because that's just getting ridiculous at that point. So yeah, Golem. I'm predicting now that Golem might be the first Pokemon to legitimately fail here, but we'll just have to see. Place your own predictions down below. And of course, another massive thank you to the channel members, Toxic Cross and Renny Yguaneti, for supporting in this one. Next time, we're going to be getting a few more member picks. It seems like a very good time to check in on that Wooper, the Shuckle, and the Heracross next time, just to see how they do in this section of the game as well. So total of 20 Pokemon next time. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching. Later.